Okay, awesome. You're good. So today we were talking about the doctor's report. Did anybody look at the module yet? I'm hoping so. It was last month, so everyone pretty much got a pretty good time. Does anybody have any initial questions about the doctor's report? I mean, we're gonna dive in very deep to this today. It may be a lot. We may go a little bit over time. Typically, we're here for an hour, so because it's just a lot of information, there's a lot to really kind of go over. So does anyone have any initial questions before we get started about anything that pertains to the doctor's report? Yes, ma'am.
How many nights a week do you recommend a doctor's report? Like, I know the houses do 2 nights a week, but...
Sure. I mean, it has us do 3.
Oh, 3.
Because we have one in the afternoon.
Oh.
But mostly students don't come to that
Right.
because in the afternoon. But in the beginning, do as many as you can. Because like first, second, even third week, I mean, you can have them every night. Because that's when you need to be getting the most finances. That's when you're going to have like a really big influx of people. So that's definitely something that I would recommend. I mean, make it to where it's reachable and plausible. Like, definitely try to be like. I mean, they said on the classroom they were talking about, you know, make sure that you're prepared for whatever you're doing. And you can do a doctor's report for one person. I've heard of plenty of people when they first open. I mean, if that was the only time that person could get there, that's when they did it. I mean, as you get older and practice, you're going to really nail down your times, and you're going to be more like, no, this is the time. Because in the beginning, you're not going to really be adjusting as many people, obviously, because they're all going to be new. And so you're going to have more time to do that. And they do talk about hours and like how that really works. And like they said on there, they were talking about how, you know, just email them like your times that you're thinking of, and they could say whatever they want to say. So I would definitely try to keep in touch with them. I mean, they're going to really be on you when you're in, you know, your first week, of course, because that's like it's prep time. It's in the trenches time. So that's definitely something that I would do, is just keep in touch with them, send them a text message, all that good stuff. So, anything else? No? Okay. All right, so I'm just going to ask a few questions, see if you guys paid attention. When does someone come in for the doctor's report? No one raise their hand on one. When does someone come in for the doctor's report?
Before their first adjustment.
For their first adjustment. Second visit.
After day 1.
After day 1. Yes, exactly. So those are all very good. I've even had people come in for. There's something on my computer. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to ask a few questions. See if you guys. It's interesting. When does someone come in for the doctor's report? I wonder how that works. When does someone come in for the doctor's report?
When the person feels the bar on the right.
For their first adjustment. Second visit. Corner.
On the screen.
After day 1. So those are all very good. I've even had people come in for. All right. Hopefully they can still hear me. If it's muted the entire thing, that's gonna suck, but it's okay. Hopefully do you think the microphone still works? Don't shake your head like I don't know what I'm talking about. I know. Whatever, I'm not the tech person.
It's hot in here, isn't
it? Seriously, God. Oh. Okay. It's weird when you hear yourself coming through, but anyway. So what I was talking about was we've even had like family members be so excited afterwards, after the doctor's report, that they'll come with their family to the next doctor's report. So that's another example. Like, it could be someone's first visit. And then there's sometimes when I'm even at like a screening or whatnot, and they just want some more information. They may not be completely sure about what's going on, or they seem interested, but they may not seem interested enough. I would invite them to a doctor's report and just say, hey, if you want to learn more about our practice, learn more about our mission, come to this 7 o'clock that night, blah, blah, blah. I mean, what is it going to hurt? Nothing. You know what I mean? And if they show up, they're a guest. And we'll talk about how we deal with guests in a second. So why do we have them come to a doctor's report? Yeah.
Educate them?
Educate them, exactly. Why do we do group reports instead of single?
Same time.
Same time. Basically, we took this from the good old church. So why do they have Sunday church? To reach the masses, right? Same thing with any group organization. I say church because I know that's a big reason why we do it, is because it really it compresses time. You're telling the same message to them, so why would you do it individually? So that's a really big reason. When people ask that question, because people are like, well, why do I have to sit through a class? Well, it's just like, well, we just want to educate the community with what we're talking about, and it's just a really good time to bring your friends and family. But then, so that we can talk about you specifically, we'll take you back to a room individually, so that, I always joke with them, it's like, no, we're not going to slap your x-rays on our wall in front of everyone else, like, they're not going to know you're all crooked, and I go through, I try to always make a confrontation something easy and good. That's my personality. So that's just what I do. My husband may be a little bit more, no, this is how it's going to go, and I'm more of a, oh, you're silly, you're fine. But there's all types of personalities out there for that. But it makes it to where you can answer that question when it comes up, because it does. It does, especially in the beginning, because you're not going to be as grounded potentially, or even in new team members, because they're not going to be as grounded in why someone comes to the doctor's report. It always happens to the ones who are a little unstable. They get the hard questions. So anyway, so what needs to be done to prepare for the doctor's report? This is huge. Does anyone know? I know it's a lot, but is there like one thing that you know of specifically that needs to be prepared for? Yeah.
The team needs to know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, the team needs to know what they're doing, of course. Anything else?
The space, they have to switch the chairs around and get all that.
Yeah, you gotta physically prepare for it. Audio visual. Yep. Anything else?
Seating chart, so
Seating chart.
everyone knows where they are, and especially with you take them out in that order.
Yeah. Yeah.
The doctor's report packet, making sure those are all together.
Yes. Yes. There are 2 packets. Do y'all know what I mean by 2 packets? What's one of them? Sorry?
The patients.
Patient's packet, exactly. So there's a financial packet that you're personally going to go over with them, and then there's a packet that is actually given to you online, so you can print that off as to what is in our packets. I have one right here, and I'll show you in a second what that looks like. So paper trail. I've talked a lot about this in previous one-to-ones as to how you go from the office, like paper-wise, what that looks like in our office, like from walking into our building, first time, shake hands, they fill out the paperwork, then you do, your tour, and then you do a consult, a PC, or a day 1 for those of you who are still not up with times yet. I'm just kidding. We call it principal chiropractic in our office. We have for a while. For the last year or so. We've been changing, like, just easier verbiage a little bit so that new team members understand what we're talking about. Because day 1, it's like, what does that mean? So we got that a lot, so we changed that. Then they have, their assessment. And then after their assessment, that's when you're actually going to invite them to the doctor's report. So that's really the time. Does anyone know how to invite them to a doctor's report? Can anyone do that? Josh, you stay down. Does anyone know how to?
I know I'm supposed to tell them that it's the most important visit.
Yep, it's the most important visit. So it's like, hello, Mrs. Not hello, but it's like, hey, Mrs. Jones. So we've gone over. You desperately need chiropractic care. So your next visit in our office is your doctor's report, and that's when we're going to go over health and healing with you from A to Z. It's when Dr. Hess is also going to go through chiropractic. It's also in a group setting. This appointment is a 90-minute appointment, and it's very, very crucial that you bring Jason here with you. You're going to have it on your sheet what their husband's name is or wife's name. Jason with you, and I see that you do have kids. We have complimentary child care that we would love to watch them. We actually hire a nanny to come into our office that may be a team member for you. That is on Tuesday night at 7 or Thursday at 1, which is best for you. They may be very easy and say, well, 1 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. They may go through their whole day. And it's like soccer practice and da-da-da-da-da, which is fine. You just wait it out. And then there's the ones that are confrontational about it. Yeah. They're learning. They're understanding. The peak students. So then there's the ones that are confrontational. And what I mean by confrontational is like, well, what is that for? Why do I need to come? And the reason why you do this before you even talk about x-rays is because of that question. Because you don't know who's going to be confrontational. Well, sometimes you do, and who's not. So you always ask that question before you go into x-rays with them. So that you don't waste your time going through finances with them, through x-rays and all that stuff. So get the confirmation for doctor's report always. And then you can answer all their questions. And it's like, well, why do I need to do that? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So I need to backtrack. Let me see if I have this correct. The new patient walks in the door, they have a tour of the console, the PC, then the assessment. So the PC is before the assessment?
Yes.
Okay, and then the assessment and after the assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically your close, your PC close.
Gotcha.
And then once they schedule, you're just like, okay, Mrs. Jones, well, the next step that we're going to do is your x-rays. And you have a $25 copay today. Is that something that you'd like to proceed with today? I always ask them because it could be, they may not have the money, they may not be ready for it. Because if they're coming from a screening, they don't really know that there's more, you know. Go ahead.
In the Hess's office, do you, after the PC and everything and scheduling the doctor's report, then take the x-rays to Dr. Hess and see if he recommends them, and then go, and you like say, you know, now I'm going to see what, take your scan or whatever to Dr. Hess, see if he recommends any possible
Sure,
x-rays, and
of
then
course.
bring it back and then discuss the finances?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
So our office is a mature office.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what x-rays to take. Like, we've been trained on that.
Right.
So it's like they have high blood pressure, they have low back pain, and they have neck pain. I'm going to take a full series of their spine. And if they're over the age of 40, we take a full, regardless of who they are, what they've done. We take a full series of their spine. It doesn't mean that you will, but in our office we do. So it's just kind of more or less like Dr. Viscarelli, he closes everybody for his PC close, regardless of if his team members did his assessment or whatever. So what they do is they have them gown back. They don't talk about the close. They don't talk about doctor's report. They don't talk about anything. They say, okay, just go ahead and get dressed, and they leave the room. And then they print off their scan. They have it clipped to the clipboard that they're in a room with, and then they buzz Dr. Michael. So Dr. Michael then comes back up, and he knows what's going on, obviously, and he goes into that room, and he actually closes them for doctor's report and closes them for x-rays. So, I mean, it really just kind of depends on the flow that you want to do, because then obviously he won't necessarily have to train a team member on what kind of x-rays they're going to need, because it can be confusing for new people.
Like for Dr. Kowalski, the team members take the x-rays and everything, but they take the file out with them and wait for him to finish adjusting somebody, and he just circles what they need.
Sure.
And so they go in and say, Dr. Eric just recommended this.
Yeah.
And, you know.
No, it's good.
So
it's good.
That part's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Hesses, they talk about this in longevity, which you will too. Like when you get into a seasoned, 2 years, 3 years setting, you're gonna let things go. You know what I mean? So it's a little different, obviously, when we have a 15-year-old office versus a 1 to 3 to 5 year office. And it also depends on your team members too, and how long they've been with you, and what you feel like they're comfortable with understanding. Thankfully we have 2 doctors, so it's really easy if we do have a question. It's like, hey, Dr. Amanda, because I still get hung up on kids all the time. because kids, to me, it's like you don't want to over-radiate them. They can actually take a full body. You don't need all 3 sections, all this stuff. So I still have a little bit of it's a gray area for me that I know that I need to work on. So like those are questions that I still ask the doctor for. But it just kind of depends on how you want to flow with that. But hopefully as you mature in your practice, you'll let your girls go and you'll let them be able to do that on their own. And when they make a mistake, because we all do, you explain the mistake. It's like I've done it plenty of times when I take less x-rays than I should. The more the better, always. So it's more or less because you see more. Like people are giving me like weird. Yes, more the better. Sorry, yes, I don't mind x-raying people because it's safer for them. You need to get into that mindset that it is safer. And if someone has a copay, why not take a full series? Because when someone's going towards their deductible, it's going to be a higher out-of-pocket for them. So that's when you really need to kind of get an idea of what they actually need, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's a learning process. Yeah.
So how would that differ for someone who's pregnant? Because they're not going to get the x-rays, obviously, so their entire clothes would be different, and their doctor's report would be different, because after the doctor's report, they're not.
It's so easy.
Really?
So easy. Pregnant women are so easy because it's like an infant. It is because it's like, especially if they come in for a complimentary assessment from like a spouse or something like that. We have that all the time. So like the lady comes in, she literally pays nothing until her first adjustment. You have to really build value with pregnant women because they're not paying anything if it's a complimentary assessment. So it's like you tell stories, you tell all this stuff. It's like you really build up that momentum for them and why they need to come in. So that's something really big for pregnant women. But yes, you do the assessment, they get or you're recommending what you're recommending, and get them adjusted. Ask them if they have any questions about getting adjusted. That actually can be more lengthy because they don't understand, potentially how they're going to get adjusted. Do I have to lay on my stomach? Is this going to hurt me? Is this going to hurt my baby? There's a lot of different things. And it's like, oh no, definitely not. And you just go through like how you're going to adjust them a little bit more than you probably would someone else because they're pregnant, they're hormonal, that's what we do. So yeah, it's really, really easy to go through that. Yeah, and we typically will do a care plan, meaning like visit-wise, for a pregnant mom like a month or 2 after their due date. So that they understand that it's extremely important to come in after they deliver a baby. And we explain that to them too. It's like you definitely need to follow through with your care, come back after. We tell them, no rush to come back, of course, but come back because we need to put you back together. And they laugh, and they typically come back because they want to. And they love the practice in that sense. And then they bring a baby and so on and so forth. So very, very important. So Dr. Michael and Dr. Jeremy talked about how many times you're supposed to talk about the doctor's report on their first visit. So how many times are they supposed to hear all this information? 3. 3. Well, I mean, they're going to hear it more. They're going to hear it more, but it's 3 times. So you get to close them. They hear it when they pay, because a lot of times they'll come out and pay. Or they'll, we bring it up to the front desk. The front desk confirms it's like you do know that your next appointment is a 90-minute appointment. And sometimes if they've heard it the first time, they'll roll their eyes and it's like, yes, thank you for letting me know. And then they're going to hear it again during x-rays. Sometimes, especially if you're a new practice, you may only have one person certified to do x-rays. So that might be all that she's doing. You know what I mean? And so that person specifically needs to know that they need to, at the end of it, it's like, great, I see that you're scheduled for Thursday at 7. You do understand that that is a very crucial appointment. And they're going to say, yes, I understand. And it's like, your husband's coming, right? And because that's what we say. It's like, they're coming, right? Why is it important for a spouse to come to doctor's report?
big financial responsibility, and that way the spouse is on board too, so they don't drop out of gear because the spouse may not see the value.
Exactly. We've had a lot of spouses. I know. Good job. We've had a lot of spouses drop out because of not just women, men too. It doesn't mean that it's just a female-oriented. It's just a lot more females come in first, typically, unless the man's really hurting. So we see that a lot, and we explain that it's extremely crucial that your husband comes, and I explain why. It's like I understand that you may, he may be working or whatnot, but we'll write a work note for him. This is very important because I know that my husband wouldn't come with me if I were about to do something life-changing, and this is a life-changing thing that we're about to do. And so I explain it to them. I always try to be as personable as possible and relate it to myself, because if you wouldn't do it, they're obviously not going to do it. So we harp on that really big, and we slightly guilt them when they don't bring them in, which I'll go over in a second. Okay, why do the kids need to come? Any reason?
The kids make sick of it.
Do what?
The kids make sick of it.
That's right. So the kids come to the doctor's report. They get to play with other kids. They potentially will see other kids getting adjusted, because it might be the kids' first visit into the office, and then they're like, oh wow, this is great. We even have other kids watch other kids after doctor's report, so that they can see what that actually looks like, and parents can see what it looks like. So if a parent's already on board, they're coming to the doctor's report and the kid's getting adjusted, then it's like, hey guys, do you mind if so-and-so watches? They haven't gotten their kid checked yet, and they just kind of want to see how this process goes. And typically people are like, definitely, it's not a problem. And so you have them go back and they'll watch how the doctor does it, and the explanation of it and everything, and it's good. It becomes a very family-oriented event at that point in time. And typically, they'll connect, because a lot of times they'll have the same age of kids, and it's a lot of fun, because then it brings more of a family element to our practice. So it's extremely beneficial to have the kids there, because if they're not there, then obviously they're not going to get checked. They may get checked later, but right then and there, you have to strike when they're like, oh wow, this is awesome, kind of thing. So you may be there until 11 o'clock at night, but it's okay.
You mean you're not supposed to be there until 11 o'clock?
I know. Does that ever not happen? Prepare yourselves, people. Or you're going to have a wide awakening. Is anybody using platinum? Does anyone know that they're going to use platinum?
Mm-hmm.
I know, crazy question.
Wait, you want to use platinum?
Shut up. I told you that I would leave you if you don't use platinum.
Inspire hiring.
Right? Okay, so when someone is done with x-rays, they go into a bin. We call it Dr. Amanda's bin. It'll be your bin. Yay! It can still be Dr. Amanda's bin. Right? So it goes into her bin. The reason why it goes into her bin is because you need to double check what your team's doing if you're letting them go. In the first place, you need to check what you're doing, and your spouse, what they're doing too, because you can mess up. It does happen. It's okay, because you may have missed, oh, I didn't put that scan into their file. I need to go back and do that. Oh, I didn't put that charge into their ledger. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that. And you'll notice potentially 5 mistakes a day that you didn't think that you did, because you're like, oh man, I nailed today. And then you go back and you're like, crap, I didn't nail today. So that's just she makes sure that everything's signed, because there is a witness signature. There's a team signature on all of our paperwork, which you have in your stuff, the paperwork, and it's also on their website, so it's always accessible. So that's definitely something that you need to check and check again and everything. But I really ask about who's going to use platinum because I'm going to give you a figure, which means the buttons that you're going to push to get this code sheet, okay? And it's RL4. You're just going to push RL4. Enter, enter. And then you're going to push whatever code you make the doctor's report. Meaning, because ours is D for doctor's report. So I push the code D, and then it pulls up everybody for that day who is coming in for the doctor's report. How amazing. So I have this list, and I'm going to show you what this list looks like. And I'm going to keep it far away from you because it is actually a real list, and it has people's names on it. So, okay, don't squint and look. They're there. So this is actually Tuesday's doctor's report. Okay, so we print this off. We actually get this ready on Thursday, the week before. Yep, there's a reason for it. So most of the time it might be in half, like the week before, but we do check it. We get everything together as to what we can, and then we check it again on Saturday if we're there on Saturday. I don't recommend you be open on Saturday in the beginning because you need to be out in your community screening and stuff. We're not going to be open on Saturday. I think Hess is literally the only person. Hess and Brower, I think, are the only people that are open on Saturday right now. And then you check it again on Monday, and then you check it again on Tuesday morning. So this is something you print it each time. We print it each time so that we can mark it off because you can miss someone really easily with your eyes. So we print this off. We write, obviously, Tuesday's doctor's report, okay? Because we're also, by Monday, we're starting Thursday's doctor's report. So there's 2 of these floating around, and so it's a big deal. So you're going to have, I just pseudo brought this in, so you're going to have their paperwork, okay? It's going to be scanned in by this point. In the beginning of your practice, you may not scan everything in automatically, which is okay. That's what you'll do on your weekends. So you're gonna have this with, say, hopefully all of yours will look like this on top of it. Okay. So what is this? Does anyone know what this is? This green sheet? Thank you. I was like, come on, people. So this is the care plan. Chiropractic care or chiropractic corrective care plan. And so we actually, when we do this, when we scrub this list, so we physically go into all of these people and we write beside it, we say x-ray or no x-ray. So if they don't have an x-ray, then obviously they're going to have an x-ray after the report. So there's not a care plan that you need to get ready for them. Make sense? Okay, good. And then if they've had x-rays, then you need to find them wherever they may be in your office. Try to be as organized as possible. I've seen some offices that aren't, which is okay. I worked in the Hess's office way too long. I'm pseudo-organized with this stuff, so I can be very anal about it, which is a good thing. Maybe not for him. So anyway, so you're going to see this. You're going to put their name on the top, okay? And then you're going to fill it out financially. I've seen it where people do this on the computer, so you don't have to actually physically write anything, which is okay. We write it all out. We actually put all of our figures and numbers on the back of the sheet. So we'll write down like 20 visits with Blue Cross Blue Shield at a $20 copay, and then the remainder, which would be 48 visits with CLA at a $30 copay. Equal, 3 progress reassessments, $30 a piece with CLA, equal, and then we add it all together. They need to see that on the back of the sheet. The reason why is because it's like an itemized statement. Or you can print it off and give it to them if you want to have your Excel spreadsheet. Who have I been talking to? I don't know. So you have this all in the back. You have, we discount 10% of the CLA rate. If I'm not making sense, stop me. Okay? So you add up the CLA rate because you cannot discount Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay? It's illegal, just to let you know. Don't do it. If you get audited, it's not going to be good. So you discount that portion, you subtract it from the total, and that's their pay in full. And then, or you can do, this is a 12-month care plan. You will divide it by 12, and then you put it in the slots. So it's like, someone set like, let's say 210 is the pay in full. They saved $177. Trying to remember all this good stuff. And then it's like 177 or 182, I think, 50 for this one most of the time. Is a 12-month payment. So, and then you will, at the bottom of this, I think this is in there too. I think the care plans are in there. If not, I mean, ask Hess or Michael for what their care plans potentially look like. You may not have the same ones because your technique may need a different kind of care plan, you know, so on and so forth. So it looks very, very different for some people. But at the bottom, what we have is Chiropractic Life Care of America. So that is our discount program. And we have this on the bottom because we like for them to initial it. Why do they initial it? Because if they have insurance, they're not going to actually physically pay for it until their insurance is maxed. So what's going to happen on that day that it maxes? They have to fill it out, and they have to pay for it. And so they're like, what? We didn't talk about that. I didn't know about this. Why do I have to do this? And it's like, well, Mr. Jones, we're doing this because you signed a care plan with us, and you're paying a monthly payment. If you were not to do the discount program, the payment will actually go higher than what you're paying now. And we're just trying to save you that money, and this is just a way to keep that payment at the discounted rate that we had for you in the beginning. Does that sound good? Okay, great. And you just hand it to them. And if they refuse, you have to rework the care plan at $50 a visit, or whatever you're going to charge them for an out-of-pocket fee.
Can you say again what the initial objection was?
I didn't remember knowing what this was. I don't know what this is.
About at that time when insurance was not everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put, in Platinum, there's a way to have someone stop at the front desk. So that means that their card number doesn't get called to a room until they talk to us. It's extremely beneficial and extremely handy because you don't remember everything, obviously. So we put in on their, like if they have 20 visits with Blue Cross Blue Shield on their 21st visit, we have a stop manager that says 2014 insurance max needs CLI. Okay, and so it comes up onto their stop, and then we acknowledge it, and we honestly don't really explain it to them. When they come in, we hand it over. We're just like, oh, okay, it's time for your discount program, and we just hand it. Because hopefully most of the time they'll remember what it is. That's it. So they initial that, because if they don't initial it, you need to bring it back up to them and say, no, you really need to initial this, just so that we know that we went over this with you, and that you understand that we have a discount program for you when you're ready for it. Great. Now, if you're not doing, because a lot of times in the beginning you won't be in network with people, all your care plans are going to be with the discount program, unless you're in Washington State, because you can't do them there. So all of them, it's going to say this care plan is based on the CLA membership, and that you check that, or you check we'll be needing when insurance denies or maxes. Because there is a time when insurance can deny. They can deny at 5 visits, they can deny at 15 visits, they can deny anytime they want to, and they need to understand that they are responsible for that gap. So that's a care plan, okay? So we get these ready, and then we stack them all on top, okay? So once they are all stacked on top, so that it's thick, okay? Put a rubber band around it, and then we put it on Dr. Amanda's desk. We actually have a bin for it. For a doctor's report, and so the bin, we have bins for everything. It makes it easy. So the bin, it goes in there, and she actually highlights what she's gone over. And then if there's anyone added, she'll add it on the bottom, and then we look for it and we put it in the bin. So this, she needs this on her desk by Monday at 9 a.m. That is for roll. Same thing with Thursday's report, it's Wednesday at 9 a.m. And then we add whatever happens that day. Because, I mean, people are going to come in Wednesday, and you can schedule them for the next day for doctor's report, but you just put them in the bin later. But that way, because, I mean, there's like 20 people on this list. Yep, there's 20 people on this list. So if you are having to go through this, you're going to want to get a head start on this as soon as possible. So that's why we do it as soon as possible. So like tomorrow, there may be 10 more added to this list. So 10 more will go into our bin at that time. Cool? Make sense? Yeah.
For on Platinum, putting a hold on their account, let's say for when they need to stop at the front desk to talk to you before, like after insurance covers and all of that, or just any stop for any type of thing, scheduling, reassessment, whatever. Can you do that in advance? Like, do you just mark on the calendar, or do you have to do it like at their next appointment? Basically, you can set it in advance from when you make their care plan on there. Okay.
Yeah. So here, do you want me to explain, like, right?
I mean, you don't know. I was
I
just
can.
curious.
I think everyone needs to know.
Okay.
I mean, if everyone's going to use Platinum, right? Awesome. Okay. So this is a stop manager. We call them, they're actually called stop managers in Platinum, so I'm not making that up. I don't think it's necessary. Okay. Okay, so you're going to have sorry, I need a calculator. Because I'm not that smart. Not with numbers. Or with computers, apparently. Okay, so if they have 68 visits, okay, this is what their spot managers are going to look like. I go from the bottom up. So I'm going to hit, I think it's F4. Yep, I'm trying to remember. F4? Yes, it's F4. F4 7 times. Okay, so it's going to have, you're going to have 7 stop managers blank. 7. Okay, so it looks like a grid, and there's like at appointment dates, there's a lot of different things. I would actually physically need to show you to understand, but this is the numbers that you're going to put in. So if it's 68 visits, they've already come in once, right? So you're going to add 1, and then you're going to add 1 more. You always add 2 to the bottom number, okay? To whatever. So if they've actually come in for ABRs, what's an ABR? That's right. Adjustment before the report, if anyone didn't hear that small murmur. So if they have those, you have to subtract. Does that make sense? So if they've come in like twice or 3 times, and you subtract that number, unless you want to start your care plans when they come into the doctor's report. Up to you. Make sense? Okay. So I'm going to add 2 to 68, which is 70. And then you're going to do 69 and 68. I'm going to explain this in a second. So I'm going to divide 68 by 3. This is if you're having 3 reassessments. We always have 3 reassessments on 12-month care plans. That's our thing. Okay. What is a reassessment? What is a reassessment? Yeah. You go into a room, they gown, you do another nerve and muscle assessment, you check to see how they're progressing, that kind of thing. So it's really a check on what you're doing and how they're feeling, and they can ask questions during that time. Okay, so 68 divided by 3 is 22.6, so we're going to say 22. So 68 minus 22, 46. Well, actually, minus 69 minus 22. It's obviously 47, yeah. And then 46, and then minus 22, is 25 and 24. Okay, so why do I do this? Because they need to be stopped to have a reassessment, right? Are you going to remember when they need a reassessment? So I'm going to put X's by this one, and this one. Okay? There's a column that says do not stop. Right here. And that's that column. This is visit number. Okay. And then you're going to write down next visit, X1, X1. Next visit, X1, X1. Next visit, X2, X2. Schedule, X3, X3. Okay, so they don't need to stop at the front desk for this. Next visit is X1. We just remind them. It's like, oh, hey, your next appointment is your progress reassessment. So just plan for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then you actually physically put, there's another place in Platinum where we put a 1 for a reassessment. That's what that means. That's why we call them X1s. Okay? You can call them whatever you want to. I suggest just stick with the wheel and go with it. So an X1 is a reassessment. So on their next visit, it's actually physically going to say, please see a team member. You're going to fill out all that stuff, all the information, give it to them, do a reassessment. Next visit, X1, another X1, and then next visit is X2. That means that their care plan is ending. When you do this assessment, you're never going to say that it's ended. Why? Because they're never going to end care, so you never want to say that. It's like, oh, look, you have finished the doctor's recommendations. That's amazing for this last year. So we're going to, so congratulations, you've made it. How do you feel? Blah, 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 all that good stuff. I'm so proud of you. Happiness and butterflies. So you schedule them for an X3. That's a progress report of findings. That is when you go over their maintenance care or their second year of care or third year of care or whatever. Obviously, you're not going to do one of those until you're into your practice, so you'll have plenty of time to practice that one in the future. But that's what it looks like. And then you have your X3, which is the progress report of findings, which is when you're going to need another green sheet and another care plan and another year. So it's fun. Fun cycle. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of? In its own way, since you can't see Platinum. Okay, well, so that's that.
Do you schedule the X2s when you go over their recommendations for a second, third, fourth year, whatever care? Is that what it was you said?
Schedule an X3. That's when you go through.
Okay.
Yeah, so they come in for a specific visit for that.
Okay. Do you do that before their last adjustment of the care plan, or you do it on the day of their last one? Okay.
Well, you do an X2 on the day of their last adjustment. So when they come in for their X3, they're going to start a whole nother care plan with whole nother amount of visits.
Okay.
Yeah. But I know that's really not on topic for today. But anyway, so that's preparation for a doctor's report. You also need to make packets. Yay! You can actually start making these packets now while you're in school. Make hundreds of them because they're never going to change. So you put in, they're also on your online, so why not? Just print it out. It's there. So print this stuff out. It's like it's a testimonial. We actually put 2 testimonials in there. We have a name badge for them, connected, or 2, which I'll go over in a second. We have their hope sheet and question form. You saw all this if you looked at the downloadable, because it's there. So it has a place for questions, for notes. It's awesome when you have this all filled up. It's really neat, because you go through it with them and it's fun. And then, especially when this is all filled up, because that means, potentially 5, 6 more practice members coming in, which is good. And when you open, does anyone know how to open a doctor's report? Ooh, scary. Yes, yeah.
The one that, I think the one they put online, the team member opened it.
Yeah, they did.
Just like a testimonial or question or something.
Yeah, so it's like 10 minutes. We've actually shortened ours to 7 recently. Obviously, this is up to you as into how long you want your opening. Doctors Jeremy and Amanda Hess have a lot of accolades, so we go through them. And it takes a little bit. I'm just kidding. So what does an opening consist of? Does anyone know? I know it really wasn't taught on the module, so yeah.
Usually whoever's opening shares their personal testimony or a testimony in the package, but usually their own, right?
Yeah, we actually shared the packet and our own.
And your own, okay. And then you go through everything that's in the packet and then introduce Dr.
Yeah. So I can kind of give you a layout of an opening if you want, just so that you can have it to kind of start practicing for yourselves, because I'm going to be opening for him. It's nice to have 2 people if you can. If you're a single doc, then I suggest you hire someone initially off the gate, but have them. That could be a very crucial thing, is to open your doctor's report. Make sure that they are a good public speaker. Your first person anyway, if you're a single doctor. I've worked on my public speaking for 3 years now. You're welcome. So you're going to welcome. They need to turn off their cell phones, okay, or put them on silent. And then you're going to ask questions. Those questions can be, how many of you guys think that you are on too many medications right now, or know someone who's on too many medications? How many of you guys know a loved one that needs chiropractic care? Like, you're going to start generating thought processes right now. Like, that's like your initial, like, it's right out of the gate. And it's like, how many of you guys were referred in by someone that you know? You want them to raise their hands, because if they don't, they're not listening to you potentially. If they see everyone else raising their hand, they're going to be like, what did she just say? You know, so having them participate is huge. And so you're going to go through the questions, and you're going to go through the packet. So it's like, one of these, Dr. is going to be explaining this chart to you, so it's actually in your hands. So if you have any questions about that later, we can go through that. And then we also have testimonials. And these testimonials are amazing because it really shows you what chiropractic can do. Okay, it's awesome. So I highly suggest that you read them. But there's one in here specifically that's really close to my heart, and it's actually the Keller family. And the Keller family came in to us first off by the mom. The mom came in because she was referred in by a coworker. Again, how many of y'all were referred in by somebody? Awesome, good, that's awesome. Yeah, I know who you're referred into, you know, all that good stuff. Get connected with your people. It's huge. She actually started because she was on 11 different prescription medications at the age of 32, which to me is a little crazy. So she started coming. Then her girls started coming, and they are completely off of all their medications. She was on medications because of high blood pressure, asthma, and also because of allergies. So she was on 11 different prescription medications just because of those 3 things. And then her girls were also on asthma and allergy medications as well. Her husband came in eventually, you know how those guys are, and they're a completely healthy and whole drug-free family. And that's what we want for you and your family. And so you explain that, and you go through that. So that's what the testimonial looks like. And then you go through this. So again, how many of y'all were referred in by somebody? I've asked it 3 times by now. Okay, you got it, you understand. So this is called our hope sheet. And we highly suggest that if you know of somebody or you think of somebody while Dr. Hess is speaking, we would love for you to write their names down. It says relationship to you, so if it's like your mom or your brother or sister or your husband, definitely put their relationship to you, their phone number, and if you know of what they're actually dealing with, put that down too, so we know how to best help them. And we'll invite them to a complimentary dinner so they can learn more about our office and how we can help them. So definitely write that down because we would love to serve them and their families as well. And then you go into, we go into the doctor's accolades right then. And then, so Dr. Hess is, I need my sheet of list. They are members of the International and Pediatric Chiropractic Associations. They speak nationally and internationally and about chiropractic to students and other doctors. And you will actually see a lot of students in this office. We are a teaching facility, so say hi to them, be nice to them, don't be mean. And they're great to be around. And a lot of times there are students there, so it's like, turn around and say hi to the students. And they'll wave and stuff. And so go through that. We go through the book. Obviously, you won't have written a book unless you guys are awesome by now. And then I say, but the most important reason why I love our doctors is because of how they got me better. I know it's selfish, but it's true. And then I go into my testimonial. And then by that point in time, Dr. Jeremy's the first one to speak in our doctor's report. Obviously, if you're a single doctor, you're only going to have one. So he stands right in the back. And I know that he's ready because you're going to have people still coming in potentially to get adjusted after like 10 minutes. So you're going to have to potentially learn how to elongate opening of a doctor's report because they could still be adjusting because you can't switch like our office. Like Dr. Amanda can't just rush up there or Dr. Amanda can't go, you don't have a Dr. Amanda in your office. And so it's very, very important to know how to pull up another testimonial in your brain, or pull up another question to ask the crowd, or do something else. Just don't stand on your head. I mean, just try to fill up time because if they're sitting there silent, they can get restless and they can start talking to each other. So try to fill up that time. Yeah.
What's your cue that you need to go along just the fact that the doctor's not standing after you?
Yeah. So I mean, there has been times when he's come up and walked away, and so you wrap up, and then you're like, oh crap. And so that's definitely just kind of a, it's a cue for us. And he has hand motions for us. So it's like he'll do this, which means elongate, or he'll mean this, which means quicken up. And to us, for the longest time, we thought this meant keep going. And so we would keep going, and he would get so frustrated with us, and we're like, why are you so angry? So definitely, like, tell your team what these things are, and yeah, that would make more sense. Cut it, it's like, come on, stop. But he would do this, and it's like,
if you run out of things to say, can you just give them a moment to read the
Sure, of course. I mean, there might be times when there are like 20 top people, they're at 7 o'clock and you can't help that. And it's just like, well, don't pretend like it's nothing to you. Like pretend like it happens every time that they come into a doc, like every report that you have. So it's like, okay, Dr. Hess will be right with you guys. If you just want to look through your packet and just think of some questions that you have for us, definitely do that, and we'll be right back. It has happened, and that's okay, because he may have used the restroom a little bit longer than he was supposed to. That good stuff. So why do you want to have a tag for your spouse, for the spouse? Pre-made. Oh, here's where the guilt comes in. So we pre-make a tag. We don't pre-make a packet, we pre-make a tag. We don't go that overboard unless you want to. We have blank packets up there just in case. So we pre-make a tag. Our tags are color-coded. Black is practice members and red is guest. So we can visually see, oh, the red needs an assessment. Oh, the red may have more questions. Oh, the red, all that good stuff. We need to be nicer to the red. No, just kidding. So they will come up to the front desk as they're being greeted. Does anyone know why do we greet them? Because they don't know what they're doing. So you're going to actually physically either be the person to greet them, or you're going to have a team member greet them. So you're going to have a list of people. You're going to have your seating chart, and then you're going to have all your packets, okay, up there. And then you're going to write down where they sit. You're going to write down, all that good stuff. So you're going to actually physically seat them. But when they come up and they see that their spouse's name is on a tag, they're going to be like, wow, they prepared for them, and I really didn't bring them, and this is actually really crucial. So, and then we take the tag and we put it on the back of their care plan sheet so that we know when we go over their money that they didn't bring their spouse. That they have a spouse and they didn't bring them. So it's our Q2 there. So that's that. Very, very important. We haven't gone so far as making kids tags, but spouses tags definitely. I mean, if they're single, then they can come by themselves. They're obviously ruler of their money most of the time. So we've done the doctor's report. We're going to close the doctor's report, meaning that you're going to go back up there once your doctor is done speaking. And you're going to go up to the front and just say, thank you guys so much for coming. We're so glad that you're here. You know, all that good stuff. And then if you need to use the restroom, tell them where the restroom is. If you need to go outside, that's fine. Just come back to your seats because we do have a seating chart, and that's how we know how to help you today. And so we're going to take you individually back one by one. So if you will, just hang out for a second, and we'll be right with you. We turn all the music back on. We turn the phones back on. And we do all that good stuff. So we typically, by the time the closer is closing, our team knows to line up. They line up in file order of the people sitting in the front. Okay, so it's like, because our team goes over financials. Dr. Brower's team goes over financials. That's it right now, I believe. I don't know if Dr. Eric Walke's team goes over financials yet. I don't think so. Shannon and, yeah, them too. That's fine. So in the beginning, it's just going to be him or her, or you and her, or you and him. It depends on if you feel comfortable with closing someone yet at that point. I know for a long time Dr. Michael did all of his closes. Tara did what he told me, the easy ones. I was like, jerk.
So Michael still does all his financials?
Yeah. I think Tara does some of them as well now. Like he said, the easy ones. So, yeah.
So does that mean for the others, they're not Hess's, not Bowers, not Kowalski's, their team members are still doing their reported findings, but just on the financials, or they're not doing them at all?
They're not doing them at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you take them back, you don't want to switch up people. You need to get comfortable with that person. So either you guys need to figure out if you want to learn the report of findings and own it so that you can do it along with your doctor. I highly suggest that because if you have 10 people at your report and it's just one person, because a report of findings can take up to 15 minutes. So let's count that. That's a long time for someone to wait for a doctor's report. And wait to get adjusted. Because if you're doing a report of findings, they're going to come back out, they're going to pay the front desk, like whatever they're doing. The front desk is going to make their calendar, they're going to do all that stuff. So basically what you're doing is getting a financial commitment in the room. So it's like pay in full or monthly pay. And then you're like, great, you circle it and you take it up to the front desk. You're going to train your team what to do from there. It's actually really easy from that point on because every decision's made. So you're really just collecting a card to put on file. You're, you're setting up a calendar, and then you make a copy of the report and give them a card that they're going to swipe. And then you say, have a seat, and please have a video playing because they're going to be waiting there for a little bit. And then you're going to do the same thing constantly. It's just going to be a rotation. So our report of findings are longer because we do all of that in the room. So we set up the care plan, we set up everything, we set up their calendar, we do it all. So the front desk really doesn't need to be there. The only reason why we would have the front desk there is because we actually physically walk them back to a room, we talk to them about getting adjusted, and then so on and so forth. The only reason why the front desk person is there is either because sometimes first visits, they will pay per visit in our office because they may not be completely able to commit to a care plan because their spouse didn't come and they need to talk to the spouse and blah, 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 blah. And so on their next visit, you're going to put in a stop manager and you're going to ask them what they decided. And all of that, which is fine. And so that front desk person could be there collecting that payment and giving, all that stuff. But for you guys, I suggest report of findings, take it up to the front desk, train a team member, like your first team member, how to collect the card, how to schedule appointments, and be nice. And that's about it. So that's kind of where you're going to go for that. Any more? I saw all hands. Did y'all have questions? Yeah, go ahead.
For those other docs that are doing the closes, are they doing the close and then adjusting right after, or everyone gets adjusted at the end, or what?
So they actually do the report of findings, and then they walk them up to the front desk, and then they give all that paperwork to the front desk, and then they go to the next one. So yes, they wait to get adjusted. And I think, does Dr. Michael give the option to come back for their first adjustment? If they're, I'm sure you could, if they get antsy at the front desk and they're just like, I really need to get home, I hired a sitter because I forgot that you said that you had complimentary childcare, so on and so forth. And it's like, that's fine, we'll schedule you for your first adjustment. Yeah. Okay. No big deal. Does anyone know how to do report of findings? Can anybody do the report of findings? Can you do your report of findings?
Yes.
Up here? You need to be on camera. You can do it to me, since you do it to me all the time. Not like that.
You're pregnant. Oh, you're doing this.
Here, well, let you sit down here, Mrs. Jones.
You have
68 visit plan of the family here.
I have cost for that written down. I'm just gonna make it up though. Alright. So I've just gone over X-rays. So Mrs. Jones, as you can see, you desperately need chiropractic corrective care. Okay. So what my recommendations are is I want to see you 68 times over the next 12 months. We're going to see you 3 times a week for 4 weeks, 2 times a week for 12 weeks, and 1 time a week for 32 weeks. And during this time, we're going to have 3 progress reassessments where we want to see how your body's progressing and how this care is actually benefiting you, okay? And the total for this cost is going to be range like 12 something. Whatever.
On yourself.
Anyway, I have it written down. So, and this doesn't.
1770.
All right. This does include your insurance and our federal discount program, okay? Now, we do offer 2 forms of payment. If you want to go ahead and pay ahead of time or pay in advance, we offer a 10% discount, which would save you, whatever, $177.
Okay.
Or you can pay 12 monthly payments of whatever the heck it is, 20 something for 12 months. Now, just bear in mind that whatever option you choose to go with, this is not a contract. So let's say you choose to pay in advance and you decide you want to go hike some mountains in Alaska, we would go ahead and refund you the unused portion of that. Or if you choose to pay monthly, we would just figure out how many visits have you had and how many months have you paid. And we will refund you whatever is necessary, or, sorry, do I owe you, do you owe me, we just get square, okay?
Oh, I need to choose which one?
Correct.
Right now?
Yeah.
Hey, it happens.
And we're going to sit now. This is, you get the chair price.
I should. I just got my tax return, so I'll pay it full.
Okay, perfect. So I just need to click that form up there, and blah, 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 sign here, do this. All right.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions about that? I mean, we've all seen Michael's. He said it word for word, I think, except for one part, which is he says 75% of the people in our office do pay in full because they are saving that money, and then the remainder of them.
Is it pay in full or pay in advance? That's the question.
That's pay in full. Piff.
So you would say that when he was explaining the painful, you would say 10%, that's when he would insert that 75%?
No, so you go through it first.
Okay.
That's kind of like their cue to make a decision.
Okay,
So
so that
it's-
ends when, right before he assumes the silence, that would be the last thing that he says.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so basically, how that ends is This is not a contract, da 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 da. 75% of our practice members do choose to pay and up front or in full because it does save them money. And then the remainder of them do pay monthly for their care needs. Silence. I have actually sat, I think it was a 42 second, I counted on my stopwatch. 42 seconds is a long time. And I sweated, I think I pretty much sweated through my top. Because I mean, it's just so uncomfortable. Like, you do them all the time, but it's just so uncomfortable. And you never know what's going to come out of your mouth. And so, you know, the one thing that I have to say is, as I've gotten more mature in asking for payments, which you will, is I have become extremely relaxed and very friendly. Before, I used to be very rigid and didn't know, you know, like you follow script very, very closely, or you follow what someone's told you very, very closely. And so, like, I do follow script. I say every word. I really do. We practice it almost every other team meeting because it's very important to practice. But because you can slip very quickly, you can stop saying a sentence, you can, you know, all that stuff very quickly. It's very important to stay on cue for that. So what I've done is it's like you become their friend. You know, it's just like, it's like I would, because like people look at me for an answer. They'll do that a lot for some odd reason. It's like, and I tell them, I'm like, it doesn't matter to me what you choose. I just want you to get better. And I say that all the time in my report of findings because they really do. They look at you for like clarity, and it's just like the first option does save you money. If you're financially able to go ahead and pay in full, I think that's your best option. And I tell them, like, if they're really seeking help, I will guide them in a way that they can be helped. So it's like, even a lot of people do put this, I don't know how you are with credit cards, but if you have a credit card and you're already paying a monthly payment, why not put this on there so that you can just continue paying one monthly payment instead of having two bills? And I say that a lot too. If you have care credit, you know, so on and so forth. Like,
Do they do care credit like this?
Yeah. Yeah. Milwaukee does too, I
Can
think.
you tell them like how extensive the interest rate is, or do you not even know that?
I don't. In our office, because I know Dr. Dean, which is who Eric peaked with, he pushed care credit. We don't push it. If they have it, we use it. If they don't, we don't have them like sign up for it or anything like that. That's just our flow.
What is that?
Care credit. It's a credit card for health payments. You can use it for veterinary things. You can use it for dentistry, everything. As long as it's from the doctor's office.
It's super high.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, as long as it's within 12 months, because if they pay over $200, they can have a 12-month no interest fee.
Do you ever get people who don't want to be a part of CLA?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Right. But I mean, they just like.
If they don't want to be a part of CLA, typically they only want one adjustment, and that's it. Because that doesn't make sense to pay for CLA and get two adjustments because it would pay for it in itself in two adjustments. And they understand that. But typically, if they don't do CLA, that's a very, very high red flag. That's like, I'm not going to be here. I'm not putting my home here. You know, like, this is not where I'm going to be. So I always talk to them. I get very, not blunt, yeah, motherly in it, because it's like, well, if you're not going to sign up for this care plan, or not for CLA, and you're not going to save money, why are you in this office? I'll be very straightforward. And they'll say, well, because I only think that I need one adjustment. And it's like, well, to be completely honest with you, that's not really how our practice works. And I go into that. And it's like, I would love to refer you to another practice that does function that way. But how we adjust and how we function in this office is care. We do care, monthly care, and we want to see you get better. And we have, we're trying to protect our reputation as well as your health. And so we would hate for you to get adjusted once and you maybe not get completely better. I know that I couldn't just get adjusted once and be fine. And I've had that conversation. You can't be afraid to have that conversation. You can't be afraid to lose somebody. You're going to lose them anyway. So it's better to lose them the right way than have them get adjusted and then them spread your name out in the community and say, well, they didn't help me. No, they didn't help you. Of course they didn't help you. You only came once. So that's definitely something very, very crucial.
So ideally, that wouldn't be a surprise because hopefully that's been said in the doctor's report too, right?
Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, if they're listening. So one other thing that I did want to go over really quick is even if you're not going to have your team go over report of findings, you still want to go over their report of findings with the team before. So we have a team huddle the morning before every shift, and we talk about the doctor's report at that point in time. So it's very, very important because that's where you get to teach your team a lot. And what I mean by that is because they pull up X-rays, they show us what specific things are. That's when we get a lot of education about the human body. So it's like, well, why does that link with that part of the spine? Or why, oh, that curvature is there, but they have this going on. Why? Why does that person have so many things going on with them, but their spine looks pretty good? Why? You know, all those good things. And that's when yourself or your partner will go over that information with them. And it's neat. It's a lot of fun. That's when I learned how to actually give a report of findings. I didn't get to do a report of findings until I was a year in. And so that's where you learn it all. And so it's fun. It's important. And I appreciate the fact that the doctors take their time and they talk about why does the skull look that way? What is that little gap right here? Oh, it's their sinus cavity. Who knew? You know, it's like there's just different things that typically your CAs won't know because a lot of times you're not going to hire someone who has been to medical school, which is great because you get to teach them from the ground up. So that's something I encourage. I mean, don't get too doctorly about it. Don't like say huge words because, I mean, just explain how the body's functioning, why it looks the way it does. This is a scoliosis. Isn't this crazy, you know? You would never have thought that was in her body, you know, all that stuff. So there's a lot of different things. Oh, you see that this portion of her hip, it looks bigger than this portion. That means that it's actually rotated. Did you know that? Like that kind of stuff. You know, it's just different things that are very simple that if someone were to ask that question in a report of findings that you're going over, they would know how to answer it. And so you're going to inundate them for like a year, 2 years with all this information so that they're ready to eventually do a report of findings. Because it's nice to let that go. It's nice to have 7 girls because we can go through a doctor's report in 25 minutes afterwards, like all of us. And like that's a 25 people doctor's report, and 7 of us can we'll go through 2 reports, and that's it. So it's really nice to train your team on it. In the beginning, no, you're not going to, but eventually you need to, I think letting that go is a good thing. Don't you agree? Yes. You better agree with me. We've talked about it. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I told you I was going to go over. So, I did. Anything? Did I overwhelm you? It's a lot. A doctor's report is a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to get ready. But that's your, like I said, bread and butter. It's when you're going to collect payment. It's when you're going to, you know, that's when you're going to feed your family. So it's huge, and it needs to go up without a hitch. We have an AV system, meaning that we have slideshows for our doctor's report. You may not have a TV for your doctor's report when you first open, and that's okay. But you may want like a backlight and X-rays. I've seen those. You know, it's like show them an X-ray because when you go into the report of findings, it's so helpful because I actually give them the floor about their x-rays. It's like, so you learned about your x-rays, what do you see wrong here? But I'm also that kind of a teacher. I like for them to explain it to me, because when they explain it to me, that means that they know that it's truth. And they're not just thinking that they're not in denial about it. So I have them explain it to me. And then I go through, yes, every time you bend, twist, turn, sit, stand, you're further subluxating yourself and you're further causing pain and dysfunction to your organs. Cervically, you know, you have a very straight spine. Sometimes I'll joke with them. If it's their personality, it's like you need to figure out where they are. You really do, because obviously this is when we're talking about money. This is when you need to become a really close person of influence for them. And it's like, this is the only straight part of your spine when it's not supposed to be straight. You know, it's like, and they're just like, I know. And it's like, you really need chiropractic care. I don't have to say anything about that. You know that you need chiropractic care. And they'll go through, you know, well, do I need all of the chiropractic care? Yes, you do. There's a reason why Dr. So-and-so gave you these recommendations. He would not give you those recommendations unless he thought that your spine needed it. A lot of people ask that question. Well, do I have to do all those visits? Yeah, you do. If you want to get better, you do. And I explain that to them. If they can't financially afford it, what happens? What do you do? Does anyone know? A tough one. It's a hard, sweaty one. So what's going to happen is you're going to ask them, what can they afford? It's a question that you're going to ask them. What can they afford? And you ask them that question because you need to figure out what is plausible. Because if it's going to be $100 or less, that's looking like 2 visits a month. In your office, is 2 visits a month worth it? I don't know. You're adjusting them. How good are your adjustments? Just kidding. And you go through that with them, and it's like, right now may not be the best time for you to start care, because I don't want you to start something that you can't finish. I don't want you to start something and not be able to have as many visits, because we actually explain to them that you need to come back within 48 hours so Dr. Hess can check you so that he understands how your spine received that chiropractic adjustment the first time. Because some people will try to schedule a week later. And I'm like, did you read I joke with them again. It's like, hey, did you 3 times a week here? What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, yeah. If anybody wants to go, if you understand it, you can.
I don't understand it, but it's over my head right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
And when do you put the stop managers in?
We put staff managers in when we scan their paperwork, but we scan their paperwork whenever we scan their paperwork before doctor's report. That's a rule in our office. So we've messed up. We will scan during doctor's report if we've missed one, because that's how much they can't. Okay. I'm gonna try to do that in our office. That is a goal of mine. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna stay up with this baby and do it. Yeah, I'm gonna have like all these scanners at the house. Because I think it is very crucial. But anyway, stop managers, what is your question about them?
Okay, so I know that you said, so for example, this was a 68 visit care plan. You added 2 because at that point they've come in 2 visits already, right? By the time
They've come in 1 visit. So I added this one because they're done at this one.
Gotcha, so 70 is their X3.
Yeah.
Okay. So you add 2 to 68 to get where their X3 is, and then I see where 68 and 69 come in. You said you divided 68 by 3 to get when the reassessment visits are.
Which was 22.
It's 22, so then how do you get numbers like 24?
That was added incorrectly, it should have been,
Did I?
you did, no big deal. So it's supposed to be subtract 22 from 46.
From
And then-
47?
Okay.
Sorry.
No, in fact, if you were doing it from 47, you're spot on.
47 minus 22 is 25.
I thought you were doing it from 46. Yeah, you're good.
40.
So you're going to subtract
68
69, 22,
I see.
subtract 22, 47, subtract 22 is 25. Because that's when they're actually having their visit. And then you do the one before as their reminder.
I guess I didn't realize that 69 was kind of the starting point that you were subtracting all the numbers from.
Yes.
Visit after their last adjustment is the one.
This is because it's 69 because you're adding, because in Platinum, that first visit counts regardless of if they get adjusted. So technically this is 68
But it wasn't an
adjustment.
adjustment, so then it doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
So you have to add that one there. Yeah. And then you're going to add more stop managers. So you're always going to push F4. Yeah, F4. And then you'll have like down here, it doesn't go in order of this, it goes in order of whatever this is.
Can I interrupt you for a second just to clarify what she actually means by adding stop manager F4? It's like an Excel spreadsheet. You're literally every time you add F4, you're just adding another slot.
Yeah, and F3 cancels it. It's all up there on Platinum. You'll learn it when you go through everything. Don't be like too caught up in what I'm saying. Just be caught up in how I'm doing it. I know. Do what I do, not what I say. You'll do what I say eventually. It's just you don't need to. It's not a thing to know. So I'm going to also put in a stop manager here for 21 visits and insurance. 2014 insurance mats. Needs CL. Okay. Are y'all gonna do Medicare?
Yeah.
I think you have to do Medicare, don't you?
Legally, yeah.
Darn it! You want to see those old people. You want to have wheelchairs, strollers, and all that good stuff in your office.
Yeah.
You do. So with Medicare, their stop managers are. So with Medicare, legally, they have to fill out an ABN form. An ABN form is a form that basically states that they understand that we are billing their Medicare insurance. They have to sign that every time they come in if you're billing Medicare. They hate it. Why do I have to do this again? I did this yesterday. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
Got that Medicare card.
So literally every time you charge them, they have to sign it? Wow.
Isn't there something where you bill the patient and the patient then does something with Medicare?
You can do the super bill, however, you can end up in some legal issues. If
Yeah, I
you
wouldn't do
want to do that.
I worked for a doctor that did that.
I just.
Well, I worked for a doctor that did that, and it becomes very complicated because it's
Michigan
then.
has different stuff though with that, because I remember when I was with Milwaukee, they would, like, every night there would be like 50 super bills.
Oh, really?
So I think in third.
And it could be by state. It could be a state thing too.
Yeah.
So you need to look at that. Also, too, one thing that I wanted to say is by state, you need to look at how many months you can actually serve a person in a care plan. Because, I mean, North Carolina, I know that you can do up to a year, but you can't do beyond a year. So you can't do like an 18-month care plan. You need to look that up. It's in the laws and rules.
Colorado's 10 or something?
Colorado's 10. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's 10 months, and then you next 10 months, and the next 10 months. It's whatever. Typically, it's easier to divide by 10 anyway, so it's okay.
That's true.
It's okay. So, like, definitely look into that for state. Here, obviously, you can do 12. We do 12, but we don't do 18. I don't know if any state will let you do 18. I'm sure there's one or two. Whatever.
In Colorado, you can smoke weed, but you can't schedule somebody to drink it.
Yay! Any more? Do you have any other questions on stop managers? Does that make sense now?
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a stop manager that you can put stop at every visit, or put a stop manager in for every visit. We do that. We are, just to let you know, we are a pay per visit office. We're not, like Dr. Michael only does pay in full. That's the only options that he gives, which is nice. We're planning on doing the same thing. But when you're a 15-year office and you've been doing per visit for years, yes, you do try to push, monthly and pay in full, but we have a system that if they wanted to pay per visit, they have to put a card on file. And then that card, that we'll have a stop manager pop up to pull the card for their copay, and then we process that payment so that you're not stacking up your front desk. So that's been very helpful because we would have lines, to check out. And then I would say, see, you should pay monthly. But yeah.
So have they changed that at all? Like taken out that option? Or like
It's hard
with
to.
new members?
It's hard
Okay.
to because so you're going to be sitting in a lobby and you're going to see someone hand over their credit card. And then someone's going to confront you. It's happened. It's happened to me anyway, where someone's like, well, why did they, because a lot of times people come in at the same time. So they see how people come in and out. And so it's like, well, they always pay when they come in because people are more observant than you think. And it's like, yes, that is an option. No, it's not the best option. That kind of thing. But when I do a report of findings, though, how I get a lot of report of findings to turn over on my side of monthly, I actually tell them, I say, I say, the reason why, because people will ask, well, can I pay per visit? They'll actually straight up ask you. They will. Fine. And it's like, in this office, because I've used this verbiage, I actually used it the other day, because I'm trying to train myself onto what our office is going to be like. I only have 3 weeks to do that. So it's like, so in this office, that is not a way to pay in this office. These are the two options that our practice functions on. So the reason why we do this, Mrs. Jones, is because a lot of times people cannot afford 3 times a week at $30 per visit. That's $90 a week. Are you financially able to do that? And they're like, oh, I see. That makes more sense. It's like, this is really just to elongate your payments so you have a straightforward monthly payment so you're not having to fluctuate what you're paying in this office. Does that make sense? And they're like, oh, yeah. And it's like, we're really just trying to help you. Oh, wow, you're trying to help me? This is amazing. And I had one person, last week, no, 2 weeks ago, because I started doing this a month out to me stopping working there. And I actually told him that he couldn't get adjusted that night. I'm just playing around. I can play with these people. And I told him, I said, because he didn't bring his spouse, okay, he did not know what he wanted to do financially. And because I asked him, I said, financially, are you able to make this decision? He goes, no. And I said, well, why don't you take this home, talk to your wife, and come back? Can I schedule you for your next appointment? Sure. So we scheduled him. He left, took a copy home, and then he came back. And he did he paid in full. So I mean, that's stuff that you can do. Like it's not illegal to tell them to go home. If they're not ready to make a commitment, why do you want them to stay? So that's definitely something that I'm trying to do more, and it works. It's not like they get mad at me. It's not like there's like this. They don't bomb our practice. You know, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Life goes on. So I mean, try with each other. Make some crazy questions up because you're going to get asked them. So does this include my whole family? No, Mrs. Jones, this does not include your whole family. This is your individual care. When your family comes in, we're going to also give them corrective care because I don't know what little Johnny needs. I don't know what his visits are going to be. And every case is different. So a lot of people ask that. Okay, can I bring my whole family in? Because they'll get confused with the discount program because it covers their whole family versus your payment, monthly payment, and so on and so forth. So they get a little confused on that. Yeah, they do. So anyway, any other questions? Cool.
Thanks, Sam.
No problem. I'm going to turn this on. For those of you, my number has changed.